Good morning, everyone. I'm Nancy Nardin, the founder of Smart Selling Tools, and it's another beautiful day here in Sacramento. I'd like to welcome everyone to our Thursday Sales Stack Seminar Series, which is just one of the resources that we offer sales and marketing leaders to help you learn about solutions for growing revenue. And I always make a point to say that we don't sell software. You'd almost think we do because that's what we focus on and we talk about and give information on a lot of software, but we don't sell software. What we do is make it easy for you to make sense of the sales technology space. Think of us as your go-to resource in that matter. And we created our weekly seminar series to give you a way to hear how others are solving very real, very common sales challenges. Today, I'm excited to have DocuSign as our guest, as you can see from the screen here. And for anyone who might not know, DocuSign is the leader in digital transaction management. I'm going to ask Joe more about what exactly does that mean. But it may be most familiar to all of you on the call here as an e-signature solution that helps salespeople get deals closed faster. In fact, I'd be surprised if not a lot of you are already using it for that purpose. But it is much more than e-signatures. DocuSign is one of those giant technology success stories. It's a company that from the time it launched in 2003, it's grown to a base of 225,000 companies and 85 million users across 188 countries in 43 languages. So we're talking about in the course of 12 years here, folks. That's pretty impressive. I've got Joe Weisser on the call with us today. Joe is an account executive for commercial sales at DocuSign, and he's going to take us through how sales organizations are shortening their sales cycles, as well as give us a demo, as we always make that part of our seminar series. Joe, thanks for joining us today. I'm glad to have you participate in our seminar series. Welcome.
Thanks, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. And are you calling in from San Francisco?
I'm actually calling from our Seattle office. We're co-headquartered between San Francisco and Seattle.
That's right. Yep. And what's your weather like there today?
It's actually beautiful and supposed to be 70 degrees, which is pretty rare around this time of year. So we'll take the sunshine for sure today.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's a beautiful area. Well, let's start with, I just have a few questions that I want to ask you. I mean, DocuSign is one of those tools that every sales organization really should make available, and that's for a number of reasons. Before we dive into that, though, tell us about you and your role at DocuSign. Do you work with specific types of companies or industries?
Absolutely. I mean, there's certain companies that naturally gravitate towards DocuSign for some of the obvious reasons. It could be they're just processing too much paper. There could be too many steps in their process. But we're also getting a lot of traffic and momentum behind organizations that might be looking at something else, and they're looking to solve a problem around maybe compliance or maybe control or the security of their documents. You're seeing a lot of companies with security issues these days. We try to basically solve a lot of that. We're really prescriptive with who we go after, but as far as your question goes, there really isn't any particular company that we can't work with.
Okay, and so large, small, I mean, I know that the e-signatures solution aspect of it is very inexpensive, especially if you compare it to, what it gives you back in terms of just ease of use of getting customers to return documents quickly and not have to go through the rigmarole of, printing and faxing and sending it back.
Absolutely.
And you have some other benefits as well in terms of ecology, right? I mean, it's
absolutely.
You start to not have to deal with paperwork quite as much.
For sure, that's what people automatically jump to when they think of DocuSign. Hey, you're eliminating paper, which is great. We love to go down that talk track with our customers and even prospects that are new to us, that are wanting to learn a little bit more about our solution, but our solution is designed to rapidly deploy and really provide immediate ROI. By eliminating something that organizations up until this point have been completely reliant on, and which is causing slowdowns in their process, maybe raising security concerns. DocuSign is an answer for any individual up to the largest companies, that including the Fortune 50. We've worked with many of those types of customers. And a lot of it goes back to our technology and how viral of a solution we are. We get 60,000 new signers every single day signing a document. This could be everything from a real estate transaction to that large sales deal that the sales rep just closed that was executed by a CEO. It doesn't really matter. It's just we're basically the glue that is eliminating the friction in those processes.
Well, talk about the friction part of it, and maybe this is where the digital transaction management part comes in. I don't know, if not, maybe you could explain the two.
Absolutely. So our company, was founded in 2003, and where we really made our name was in the real estate space, and that's why you see the big partnership with the NAR. That's why many people come to us having already used DocuSign in one shape or another, and a lot of those times it was a real estate transaction. But we've pivoted in the last couple of years because we realized we were getting sort of pigeonholed as being simply a signature capturing feature, and we're obviously a lot more than that. DTM at its core, digital transaction management, I say DTM for short, by definition is a category of cloud services designed to digitally manage document-based transactions and approvals. What DocuSign does is we remove the inherent friction in transactions that involve people, documents, and data to create faster, easier, more convenient, and secure processes. On top of that, our solution allows you to execute those documents anywhere, anytime, on any device. So there's a big area of momentum around streamlining processes. That's really where we're helping organizations achieve what they're trying to do and eliminate those steps, the hard costs associated with those processes today.
Okay. And you are big in real estate. I think that's may have been one of your biggest markets as you launched. I mean, obviously they have a ton of paperwork that requires a ton of signatures and initials. As you talk about the friction in terms of the process, and let's just call it closing deals, since that's what we're really focused on, is the sales side. I've noticed that there's often a lot more documents involved in closing a deal than just getting an order signed. So
absolutely,
what are some of the other kinds of documents that a salesperson or organization might need to process electronically?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot of documents I think that would be involved in the process before that sales contract's actually sent out. That could be the NDA, which might be required before your organization is even allowed to talk to that prospective customer or prospect. So those ancillary documents, we can also be a part of the solution. And that's really our methodology. It's really where we differentiate from other companies that attempt to do what it is we do. We're very prescriptive in looking holistically at the entire solution and not just wanting to solve one component of the problem, but to really get to where the root of the cause of that slowdown is. And it might be inclusive of those ancillary documents that also require approvals in order to move to the next stage or phase in the life cycle of that particular customer. Mm-hmm. So we really aim to achieve a solution from end to end. We see that a lot in contract management, where potentially redlining is required as documents are going back and forth between legal teams. This also explains why we have such a rich partner ecosystem. We have over 100 pre-built connectors with some of the leading content management CRM solutions today. And it's really where we're trying to strive to achieve that end goal, but also work within the confines of where your organization lives today.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps your sales reps are living and breathing in Salesforce all day. Maybe it doesn't make sense for them to pop out of that just to send a document. We really want to make that streamlined from end to end in the same processes that they're used to conducting every single day.
Yeah, that's important. I hear more and more of companies, they just don't want, first of all, adoption of CRM is a big issue, and so they just don't want salespeople to step outside of that, and nor should they really have to, because it's all about speed. You talked about removing the friction and the importance of getting things to happen more quickly. Time kills deals, so the more time that goes on before somebody actually, between when someone gets the contract and when they sign it, or when they have a proposal that they're ready to send out, and yet they need to get internal approval. So this is not just for external approval, it's for both.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're a solution for any sort of document requiring approval or some sort of acknowledgement. I think sometimes, like I said, we get pigeonholed into being a solution for just one aspect of a transaction, but internal documents are also requiring approval. It could be a compliance reason for why they're coming to DocuSign, where they need more structure to their process. They need an audit trail to prove that out, but it's also for external sales agreements like what we've already discussed that have some sort of revenue attached to it. Both are equally important, and both are, the lifeline for an organization to really achieve what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned the term prescriptive a few times. That means that, I think, let's see if I'm got the correct understanding of this, but it means that you're really helping companies to identify where the different friction points come in and how DocuSign might be able to eliminate or reduce those friction areas and pave the way. Is that what you mean?
Absolutely. It's looking at the problem holistically and what they're trying to solve, and that may require introducing partners into the equation that might also be a part of the solution. A great example was a very large hotel brand that needed some help with their rate letter approval process. They basically franchise their name and brand out to individual hotel operators, and through the sales cycle we realized that it wasn't so much capturing the approval, but it was actually capturing the approval in addition to redlining that agreement that was really the crux in slowing their process down. And that's where we involved partners who also have the redlining capabilities of working in tandem with DocuSign to achieve that end goal.
Okay. And so I imagine this is where workflow comes in to kind of identify what's the typical workflow of a process. If I've got an NDA, it means that usually, it starts with X department and then they have to approve it and then it automatically needs to go to someone else. Those workflows can get to be pretty complicated, I would imagine, especially at larger companies. Is that something that DocuSign, that you have a services organization that helps with that, or do you have partners you work with?
That's actually core DocuSign, and that going back to that routing piece that you referred to. A great expression I heard that described DocuSign was we're basically everything that a FedEx envelope can do without the paper, but also allow for automated routing to other signers or other recipients in that workflow. Today, if you use a FedEx envelope to send something overnight, you're restricted to it going from point A to point B, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Then it's
well,
someone else
DocuSign,
slap a label on it and forward it to the next person.
Exactly. Not even touching or addressing the hard costs and the expense to that, but it's the time it takes to get from one point to another. But you're limited in the fact that it stops there. Well, with DocuSign, we're basically doing all of that and allowing the document to go to multiple signers that might be required to approve or potentially countersign, or maybe they simply just need to receive a copy of what was sent out. We're able to automate that entire process. And that's really why we're able to rapidly increase, the sales cycle and really cut down on that time. John Hinshaw from Hewlett-Packard, which was one of our largest enterprise rollouts, said that we cut their sales contract time down from 21 days to 2 days.
Oh, wow.
When you look at time to value and the amount of revenue associated with closing those deals faster, tremendous return on investment.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. I mean, the quicker you get the signed document, the quicker you get to book the revenue, the quicker you get to fulfill. That means you get to invoice and then you get paid. I mean, it just trickles down. But also,
Exactly.
I think there's another financial factor, which is that you probably have less deals that end up not closing or stalling because let's face it, I mean, I've been in sales my entire career and I've had it where, hey, we were down to the signing process and then all of a sudden a reorg happened. So
absolutely,
you want to get that done quickly. You mentioned FedEx and some of the similarities, but the benefits and contracts. One of the things I know FedEx obviously does is they track the documents so you know where it is in the process. And DocuSign also does that, right? So at any point, someone who's working a contract can see where that's at. What kind of dashboard?
Absolutely.
You're going to show us that, I'm sure, but is that where the dashboard comes in?
That's where the dashboard comes in, and what's most important for sales reps is getting that order out quickly, because as you noted, time kills deals, but also being able to track where that is in flight. In the paper world, for a lot of organizations, it's simply attaching a PDF to an email, sending it off to the customer, or maybe even faxing it. We're still seeing that today. Mm-hmm. Well, a couple challenges with that. You don't have any visibility. Number two, you don't even know if they actually received that document. So you instantly lose track of where that is in the life cycle. Well, with DocuSign, we're notifying you as soon as that document's delivered, viewed, signed, etc. Any sort of action taken on that document, you're going to be notified as a sender. So salespeople love us because we help them close deals faster, but also notify them if there's a problem or as soon as the document actually reaches that customer so they can follow up with that friendly reminder, letting them know, hey, this would really help my quarter out if you could get that agreement signed. We're also notifying senders if for some reason they entered in the wrong email address, which is also important. Mm-hmm. It's those 5%, 10% of the time type situations where we're closing the gap and really providing that return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and think about the times that someone will send, that a salesperson might send an email and forget the attachment.
Absolutely.
And then a couple of days go by and you don't even realize that you never sent the attachment. And you're wondering, is this the right time? Am I being too pushy if I call it back and I check in? And yeah, I mean, absolutely. I can see why they would love it.
We're hearing that a lot. And also control is a big component too, and I touched on that initially. With DocuSign, you can enforce certain fields so that they're not able to actually complete the signing ceremony on executing that document until all required actions have been completed. Why that's important is, just NIGO, our term for not in good order, that getting a document back is great, but assuming it's completed successfully. And that's one of the things where we've made a lot of focus and really where we measure our success by our customer success. Our company operates off of one key metric, which is based on all successful transactions for documents sent through the DocuSign platform. and that goes down from top to bottom. Every employee within our organization is measured on that. And that's one of the things that we're able to help organizations with, is ensuring that the documents are completed successfully the first time and do not require the process to be recycled.
Yeah, I mean the Japanese manufacturing, term for that sort of thing happening is muda, and muda is basically wasted effort, and I think that's
Interesting.
yeah, there's a lot of muda in the paperwork and paperwork signing process. Like you just said, maybe it's a mistake, or someone forgot to fill out a form, or I mean a field, or they forgot one place to initial. There's all kinds of, then you're reworking, which is one type of muda, is having to rework something. And
exactly.
so what you're saying is, hey, you can't actually get out of that document unless you have completed all of those things.
Absolutely. We're also guiding the signer through the process as well. Whether it's including a note for the customer so that they're able to get through that without question. I see that a lot in the HR space with I-9 agreements or W-4s. Sometimes those can be confusing for employees that are filling out a new hire packet. It's really where we're able to shine and get that signed fast without problems, and not slow the process down any.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. So I was just wondering about the implementation and the training process. I imagine, I mean, I use DocuSign for e-signature, so there really was not any training that was required. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I would imagine if you get into more of the capabilities and functionalities, that there might be some training requirements. What does that typical implementation process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we require training for all of our commercial customers, and it's just going back to that one key metric and ensuring that your deployment is successful. I mean, that's the most important thing. Successful customers want to keep using DocuSign. Typically what happens is upon signing the order form, you're going to receive an activation email, and then followed by a couple days later an introduction to your account manager. Every commercial account has a dedicated account manager resource tied to their successful deployment. Following that introduction with an AM, you're typically going to go through a couple hours of training with our onboarding success team, which will help build out templates, set up permissions, add users, but also end user training. And each of those training sessions is tailored based on the unique requirements for each customer. Following that, there's a 30-day and quarterly business review calls with the account management team, as well as a dedicated account executive that's tied to your account, to really ensure that we're meeting on our promise, we're delivering value, but we're also potentially helping expand the use elsewhere in the company.
Okay, wow. Well, that sounds like a pretty thorough implementation process. And I've heard of a term lately called SWAS. You know how you have the SaaS market? Well,
Yeah.
SWAS, it would be, the W would be with, so it'd be software with a service. And
absolutely.
I mean, and that's why I think a lot of SaaS applications are not adopted or successful, because they're just kind of thrown out there to the company to figure out. And you need a little hand-holding. It's new to people, and when people don't like to change, so whenever anything new is introduced, it can, there can be a transitional period. So
absolutely.
Well,
we try to minimize that change management as much as we can. What's most important for IT business owners that are usually involved in some way or shape or form with the deployment of DocuSign is minimizing the impact to their end users. Going back to how sales reps don't like change, well, that's really a way that we can help curb that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to have you go in and show us how it works. But right before you do that, though, I'm going to mention something so I don't forget. Next week in San Francisco is your big annual event called Momentum. Tell us about Momentum and kind of what is that conference all about?
Yeah. So Momentum is our annual user conference where we pull customers both small and large into one centralized place where with expert leaders and a lot of great thought sharing and best practices sharing for companies that are really making that move to a more digitally transformed business. We have a great lineup of keynote speakers as well as a very comprehensive agenda for breakout sessions that are all covering different industries, best practices, and really just how to apply DocuSign in your daily life. It should be a great forum, but there's also a developer conference as well for prospects and customers that are leveraging our API and wanting to learn about how to connect DocuSign to back-end processes and applications. So we're really looking forward to the event, and it's usually a really big success for us and just getting more of that DTM message out there.
Yeah, it's a great event. I've been to it year after year. I'm going to be driving out to San Francisco myself next week to attend. And it's just a good time. And you also do get to learn a lot and meet a lot of peers in the industry and talk about how they are, their best practices and get ideas from them as well. And you don't have to be a DocuSign client yet, right? I mean, you can go and learn about what others are doing.
Not at all. No, every potential person is a customer in our eyes, and like I said, a lot of people have already signed a document even if they're not a customer. So
yeah,
we like to think of everyone as sort of a potential prospect for us.
Yeah. All right. So that again is happening Union Square, San Francisco, Weston St. Francis. So if anyone is out and lives in that area, I think you definitely want to go. It's a great time and worth the time and effort. All right. Well, why don't I have you take us through it? Show us, I don't know, maybe start with the signing process.
Sure. And let me just sort of tee this up before we kind of dive into it. What you're seeing right now is the web console that I'm going to log into. I'm basically going to take you through a demo of just a basic sales use case where I'm sending this as a sales rep to a customer who's going to sign the agreement, and it's then going to be routed to another countersigner following their execution to complete that process. And we'll try to keep it interactive as we go. But let me go ahead and log in. You'll see here that I've branded the console to the name of the fictitious company, Prestige Worldwide, where I'm going to be sending this from. But upon logging in, if I was to simply send out a document, I would just click on Send at the top. It's one of the tabs there. And I'm going to choose an online document. I'm going to choose an online document because I've pre-made a workflow for what we call a template to send this agreement out through. And you'll notice that after I add the template, you're going to see a routing order up here. Right here with this order diagram, me as the sender is going to send this to Austin Troy, followed by myself countersigning it. Assuming that all goes according to plan, the transaction will complete. We'll all receive a copy. So up here is obviously the document, and I just have one, but you could have numerous documents. A lot of our mortgage companies have 140-page mortgage origination forms. So this, for the purpose of today, we'll just have one, but followed by the workflow, which I just covered. Down here is the third component of this process, which is the email message, which you can fully customize based off how you want this to reflect to the recipient receiving this on the other end. And I can, of course, include a little friendly custom message here. Please execute the agreement. But before I send this out, I just want to check a couple of the settings, and this is going back to the automated reminders and expirations that we have. I can actually hard code hard code those into the workflow so that every single time one of these agreements sends out, it reminds the signer in 3 days. Obviously, after the first reminder, I can choose the frequency and the cadence for how I'm communicating with the customer. But I'm going to go ahead and send this out, and I already had a couple emails and names already preloaded in. Without further ado, let me just click Send Now. And that's basically the process to send that out. So I'm going to go ahead and switch gears and actually pop into my email and put on my hat as the signer. And what we call this is the communication message. And this is sort of a handshake, a digital handshake, if you would. You'll notice that nothing's actually attached to this email. It's simply a communication message, and this goes back to our security and why we're the most secure way to do transactions. But I basically start the process by clicking on Review Documents. From here, I'm taken into an encrypted, hosted signing ceremony hosted by DocuSign, and for where I start the process. Now I'm going to basically consent to do business electronically. And here's the sales order that I just sent out. Now, obviously, there isn't a lot of workflow components to this other than a signature, but if there was any sort of fields that I needed to capture data, maybe there was an address field open that I was going to let the customer actually make edits to, you would see that there. But for the purpose of this order form, I'm just going to click Start. It's going to take me down immediately to the signature tag where I'm going to layer my signature. From here, you have a couple options for some preset options, preset fonts on the different style of signature. But if I'm on a touch or mobile phone, I'm going to be able to actually sign my signature. So I'm going to go ahead and just adopt one. Okay, so Austin Troy is adopted in his signature. The last and final component is just clicking Finish, concluding my requirements to sign that document. Excellent. So here's the executed version by Troy. So now I'm actually going to hit pause. I'm going to pop into my own personal email, because if you recall, I'm the countersigner on this. Okay, so here is the actual message I receive as the sender. I'm going to click Review Documents, just the same way that Austin did. And you'll notice that when I click Start, Austin's signature is already layered on this form. Obviously, I'm going to sign this document. And because I've signed other documents, DocuSign remembers me, so I don't have to adopt a signature. I click Finish, and I'm done with that process. And both parties, both Austin and myself, receive a fully completed, executed version. And just make sure I got the completed one. Okay. It should be here in any second. Okay. So in Austin's email, he has a completed version of the order form that we signed. I can, of course, go in here and view what I just executed. We'll also attach a PDF of the order form following that. And that's something that can be turned on or off. And one other thing I wanted to show with this is the history and the certificate. This is the audit trail for that document. This is going to capture basically all the metadata around this transaction that's important for me as the sender to prove that this was a valid and enforceable transaction. This is really what gives DocuSign the same legal weight as paper and with much more information behind it. You'll see that we're capturing the timestamps of when this was sent, viewed, and signed, as well as all the signatures that were captured on the form, including the IP address and addresses of all the countersigners in the workflow, as well as all the different layers of authentication. We're also able to actually track history from start to finish, including the GPS coordinates of all signers in the workflow. And you'll notice here that I signed this from downtown Seattle. where I'm based out of. So just to prove to you, Nancy, that I live in Seattle, this is where I am at.
Oh, great.
So a
That's
little
cool.
creepy, but hey, in terms of following, providing that structure for your process,
Yeah.
we're providing you much more information than you would in the paper world.
I mean, it's incredible how much more insight you would get as a salesperson on this. I mean, I remember not so long ago, going to a fax machine and checking to make sure that the line was still live. It's like, where is that fax? And as a
Certainly.
DocuSign user today, I mean, it's a great feeling to get an email in your inbox that says your DocuSign is complete. It's like, all of a
Absolutely.
sudden, I've just got myself in order. Not all of it. I mean, right? It's never that easy, but
For
that's
sure.
a nice message. And yeah, one thing that I noticed is, a lot of the time that you just took describing and showing how it worked is just that, showing, and describing it. But the actual process of just uh, sending something out for a signature and then checking to see or getting an alert to see where it's at. I mean, it's just down to almost zero time.
Absolutely. I mean, it really was what a sales rep's dream was 20 years ago, but we make that possible today. But if you don't mind, I'm just going to show just sort of from the visibility standpoint. We were talking a lot about that earlier. Why this helps me as a sales rep in determining where things are in flight. That's something that's often understated. Let me just log back in. You have a series of dashboards that are going to provide you with all the different envelopes that are out for signature and where the status of those agreements are, whether it's sent, viewed, completed, voided, declined for whatever reason. Not every single transaction is going to complete, but this is valuable information to know why it didn't complete. But as far as reporting, we're able to provide scheduled reports, which you can easily customize, delivered to you on specific days of the week. Imagine being able to get a report that shows all envelopes out for signature, all orders out for signature every Friday morning. So you're able to go and get really granular and find out where that particular agreement is. Maybe the large one that you just sent earlier in the week is in the life cycle. Have they viewed the agreement? Did they decline it for whatever reason? You're going to have that instant visibility into the process. And it's one of the huge components of what DocuSign can provide that is not currently possible in the paper world.
Yeah, and I noticed you use the term envelope, so that's kind of like if you were going to be sending a set of documents or a document through FedEx or mail or whatever, you're sending out an envelope. So you use the same
Absolutely.
nomenclature, and it can be more than one document in that envelope.
It can be more than one document, and it can also have more than one signer. As we noted with the limitations with FedEx, you send a FedEx overnight, you're restricted to sending it to one location or to one recipient. With DocuSign, we're automating that. We're also providing the ability to have multiple documents in there to go to multiple different countersigners downstream.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we have just a couple minutes left. Is there anything else that you want to be sure to show us?
As far as today, a lot of the stuff under the hood isn't so much important to what a sales rep will undergo. As I noted, there's a very comprehensive training and onboarding that we put with every customer. But from what I just showed today, it is that easy. And this is our out-of-the-box console, obviously. So this is not integrated with any back-end system. But, assuming it was, the process is even cut down even more.
Okay.
We're all about reducing clicks and friction in the process.
Yeah, I'm all for that. There's a lot of clicks and friction out there and all kinds of apps. If somebody wants to go ahead and try it out or sign up for an account, what do they do? I mean, can they just download it off the iTunes for their iPhone or? you know,
Uh,
the smart.
Absolutely. We have a variety of customers that come to us. It could be a developer that's interested in integrating this into their back-end system. So maybe they're creating a free developer account, which we make very accessible to anyone that is interested. But we also work with a series of smaller businesses and organizations that can merely sign up on our website. For organizations that might be a little bit larger and looking at this as a solution for whatever their business problem or challenge is, we have trial accounts available that are available for testing. That's also something you can see random demos on our website for various use cases so they can get an idea of where else in the organization DocuSign can be used. But certainly our website is a great resource, which is DocuSign.com. Any other questions there?
Oh, I think I've been on mute for the last few seconds.
Sure. Yeah, I was wondering why it went quiet all of a sudden. I think I might have lost you.
Oops, yeah, yes. So, yeah, I was just saying that if anyone had a question, they could enter it in the right-hand panel, but at this point, we don't have any more, so I think I'll go ahead and call it. Thank you very much for giving us your time today and taking us through how DocuSign works and the benefits that it can bring to sales organizations.
No problem, Nancy. I really appreciate the time and allowing me to walk you through some things today.
Well, it was great to have you here. And for everyone else on the call, I'll just say I hope you can join us again next week. Every Thursday at 11, we have our Sales Stack seminar series. So please do join us again next Thursday. And if you can, join the Momentum event next week in San Francisco. Have a great day, everyone. See you next week.